Hey y'all, thanks for stopping in. Appreciate you taking time out of y'all's busy schedule. Stop in and see what it is I'm up to. It is Tuesday, June 29th, 2021. About 1:30 in the afternoon. Right now in Jacksonville, Florida, it is 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Overcast, humid, muggy. Let's see what they said the humidity is. %75. 29 degrees Celsius. So, the oldest grandson and the son-in-law got home early today, so I'm headed out, and I'm going to try to recreate the video that I did this morning, because when I went to upload it, I don't know, the phone must have run out of power, run out of juice, because it shut off, and when it did so, I lost the video. I mean, gone. I'll get home and open the SD card, but it's not on the phone at all. So, I don't know. Electronic gizmos sometimes throw you for a loop, but it is a warm one out there. It'll take a little while for the rat buggy to cool down. Oh man. So there was a question. One of the reasons I wanted to do the question and answer type thing was that I would have more to talk about on these cruising vlogs, morning vlogs, generally in the morning vlogs. So one question, I think it was Jane asked, what brought me to Florida? How long have I been in Florida? Etc. What do I think of Florida? Well, first off, I love Florida. I really do. As for what brought me here, well, 30 some odd years ago, coming up on the anniversary actually, we used to run a street stock car, dirt track, roundy round. Our car was broke down, but we were out to the track anyway. And I had the old miss with me and all the kids. We were sitting in the spectator stands that night, of course. And something happened on the track. The car got airborne, came down into the fence, and parts of the car and parts of the fence all blew off into the stands. I kind of saw it coming and pushed the kids down in between the bleachers, in between the seats, and took a bar right across my face. And I had all kinds of fractures here, multiple fractures over here. They called it eggshell. Kind of like if you take a boiled egg and squeeze it, you get all those multiple fractures. Just that side of my face looked like. So, several times in and out of surgery. I died a couple times. Weeks and weeks and weeks in the hospital. On the first time, I think even the second time I was in for like 3 weeks. But they rebuilt as much as they could. Like my palate was broke loose. and broken in half. My jaw was broken in 3 spots. I've got metal plates around my eyelid, around my eye orbits, under my nose, in my jaw, up here in my temple, in the back of my head. Add in all the other injuries I had, and I had metal plates in my hip and down in my ankle, and I'd already injured my back several times. I had a couple of fractures in my neck from the racetrack. I had a couple of previous. I had some other back injuries previously. So I was not in good shape. As I was recovering from the racetrack, it was about 2 years later. I was back to work. I was working for a delivery service, and I was in downtown Philadelphia, standing on a street corner. And a car came by too close and hit my hand. This one. With the mirror, and totally ripped that open. There's a metal bone in there that they ended up having to replace. So anyway, got to a point where I did not do well in cold weather. I mean, some of the stuff, the stuff down the ankle and my hip and one of my hand, I mean, that stuff you can all kind of wrap up and protect to a good degree. All this, not really. And for the longest time, I couldn't feel my nose, even like not frostbite or whatever. Just I couldn't feel my nose. It still doesn't feel. Excuse me. Still doesn't feel like some of the other parts of my face. So, I mean, I've got nerve damage like that in my hands too, where my fingers don't have. I don't have a whole lot of sensitivity in my little fingers. In this hand, there's no feeling right in here, so very little anyway. I need to redo the mount on this phone. Excuse my hand. See if that makes a difference. So, the old Mrs. father lived down here in Florida. She grew up with her grandmother. She didn't really know her dad that well. And he was sick. So, we talked things over and took what money we had left from the settlement and moved down here, not knowing what we were doing or where we were going. That was about 5 or 6 years later. The youngest daughter started kindergarten here in Jacksonville. So, whatever age she was for that, 5 or 6. And at the point when we had in 86, when we had the accident, that was when she was born. She was still in a car seat carrier at the racetrack. So I know my timeline is kind of like all over the place, isn't it? Anyway, we moved down here, and one of the old Mrs. half sisters supposedly had a house we could move into, and we got down here and the place was it was a mess. The front door didn't meet the floor by over an inch, almost 2 inches. Frogs were coming in through it. Vines growing in through the bathroom window. It was horrendous. So friend of my brother-in-law who lived with my late father-in-law mentioned that there was a friend of his was moving out on the next street over from my father-in-law, and we went over to talk to him about getting in touch with the landlord or whatever, and just happened to run into the landlord, and we sat down and talked. And I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't have a job. Had 4 kids. We were kind of on a hope and a prayer at that point. And Mr. Gene told me that we could go ahead and move in, and I was to go talk to Miss Betty. Miss Betty ran a school bus service, and he said she'll put you to work. And I asked him, I said, well, how do you know that? He said, because I'm going to call her and tell her to. And okay. Well, it turns out he was part of the county transportation department for the school system. So he had a bit of pull in that situation. So that's where we landed, and I was there for 30 years, darn near, until Mr. Gene had a heart attack and ended up having to sell off all of his properties. And I ended up moving to Mobile Home Park, where I'm at now. It'll be 2 years this August, maybe 3 years. So anyway, we came down here. I drove the school bus for the longest time, usually fill-in jobs because it didn't really pay enough. And of course on the summers and whatever. So I get fill-in jobs, and then at one point I didn't go back to the bus because I was driving the big dump trucks and making fairly decent money at that point in time. $600, $700, $800 a week. Driving the big dual axle big dump trucks. I did that for a couple of years. I don't remember exactly how long. Drove for four different companies. But at one point, I had a load of contaminated soil on the back of the truck coming out of the Naval Air Station on the other side of the river. And I was out on 295, and a pickup truck came in on the entrance ramp and came dancing through traffic and was trying to get in front of me, and apparently his back bumper or something touched the right front tire of the truck and popped it. Yeah. She went down in the front end. Somehow I imagine pulled her back up again, but she went back down and started to pirouette, roll, and then she ended up sliding. I was hanging on for dear life onto the steering wheel. Kind of slipped out of the seat belt. And yeah, that was a ride and a half. So finally came to a stop. There was some guy got up on the side of the truck, was trying to open the door. I couldn't get out that way. Somebody else finished knocking in the windshield, and I climbed out through the windshield. Although I probably should have stayed in place. It ended up, it fractured my neck again, messed up my shoulders. It's part of where some of the nerve damage in my hands comes from. And yeah, it was intense. That was pretty much the last straw. I had to fight a little bit to get disability, but with all the fractures and the numbness and this, that, and the other things going on, I ended up being like 128% disabled according to the government guidelines. So I didn't want to turn here. Oh well, I'll go the other way. So yeah, I've tried going back a couple times, going back to work, but can't even really do a part-time job. So I have problems standing for long or sitting for long. I mean, I can't even really go fishing. I've had some people comment on that, and like I make up fishing stuff and don't go fishing. Well, my shoulders are so bad and my back is so bad. Actually, one of the judges commented on that when they wanted to know how it affects your life. It's like, I have problems washing my hair, and I said, I can't even really go fishing comfortably, even freshwater fishing, just a little light pole and small fish. The movements that you have to do when you're fishing aggravate my injuries to a point where it's not any fun. I'm not saying I'm in excruciating pain when I'm fishing, but I'm uncomfortable, it hurts, and there's no sense in continuing it if it's going to hurt, right? I mean, that only makes sense to me. So anyway, that pretty much brings us up to where we are now, and then getting started here on YouTube. A couple of things drove that. My sister, who was a fantastic cook and baker, she was French trained, always told me that I should make videos of my cooking. I did some Instructables and stuff like that, and we talked all the time about cooking. My one brother's also a chef, and so anyway, that was always there. And then I was always telling people that, that I was watching too, hey, how about, if you don't have any other content to shoot, show us where you live. Just because it's mundane to you every day, I've never been there, whether you live in England or Ohio or Nova Scotia or whatever. And when I realized, dude, you live in Florida, you got gorgeous places to show off. People might enjoy seeing that. So that's kind of where I started. And my channel is all over the place. I don't have any one theme. I'm eclectic. The one promise I make is I can't promise you what you're going to see. So like I said, that's pretty much up to where we are now. So and that pretty much finishes up my ride. I'm only a block or two from the house, and hopefully this is going to publish. And yeah, so anyway, let me know what you think, folks. Give me a thumbs down or a thumbs up. Leave me a comment wherever it is y'all leave comments on your internet access device of choice. If you'd like to share me around your social media, that'd be fandoculous. If your loved ones are nearby, give them a kiss and a hug. If they're not, give them a call. Hit them up on Facebook. Let them know you think about them. Let them know you love them. We ain't promised tomorrow, people. We ain't promised our next breath. So I see y'all again. I hope you have a fandoculous day. Watch it, y'all.